Hey, my wrists are a little bit itchy. Do you notice anything weird when you look at them? Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ladies, with Shadow of the Erdtree now officially in full swing, one thing the vast majority of players will want to find is sort of a new build, a new weapon worth actually putting effort into finding and upgrading to actually use for the DLC itself. And so today we're going to go over a nice little early game collection of these for the DLC. Specifically, every single one of these weapons is either going to be in the opening field area or a dungeon or cave that connects directly to it, and none of them require you to have beaten any remembrance bosses or anything like that at all. We'll do this in a spoiler-free way. First I'll show you what the weapon is, then I'll show you where to go on the map in general to get it, and then if applicable we'll go through the specifics of how to get it within that location, and we'll essentially just be going in order of how long it would take you to get to where the weapon is if you started from the exact opening grace of the DLC. Without further ado then, let's begin with curseblade cirque. This is a new backhand blade category weapon, and it is essentially just a pair of chakrams that you can wield, which is just honestly sick as all hell. They scale mainly with dexterity, though a little bit of strength as well, and they have a unique look to them and also a unique Ash of War as well, which is called Deadly Dance. The first input throws you forward in a spinning cyclone of slices, and then if you press the button again, it follows it up with an axe kick with forward momentum. This has pretty solid stagger on it and is a lot of fast hits too, which melds well with pre-existing talismans. As far as where to get this one then, from the starting grace, go basically nowhere. In a straight line forward into the field, run up to this little structure and an enemy will spawn that uses these weapons. This one is the only non-guaranteed drop today, which means this is an RNG chance to drop from this specific enemy, though the drop chance isn't that low, and it is about 20 feet away from the site of grace, so it's a really easy one to farm to actually have this drop if it's something that you actively want to use. Second up today then, let's talk about the greatsword of solitude. Strength scaling mainly with B scaling, even unupgraded, which means that it gets quite tasty for any mainly strength people out there, and while the moveset itself is pretty standard, it does have a unique Ash of War, solitary moon slash. The first input fires a sort of blade of air forwards, almost like a physical version of Blasphemous Blade, but then you can do a strong attack follow-up if you time it correctly, which is pretty strong too. As far as actually getting this one, it is a very short walk northwest of the starting grace over to this structure here on your map. Inside of this is a boss fight right through the front door, and once you kill the boss you will get the weapon, and you'll also get their full armor set too, which is pretty visually impressive as well. Then third we have the deadly poison perfume bottle. This is a dex and arcane mixed scaling weapon, mostly for the purpose of letting it scale its poison status build up with your arcane stat as well. This does pretty much what it says on the tin. It is a poison version of the perfume bottle, and the animations are honestly gorgeous. I love the way this one looks, and it also has a unique Ash of War on it too that just throws out a mist of deadly poison above you, poisoning yourself awkwardly as well, which you may think is silly or bad, but actually this triggers any talismans or armor or weapons that give you bonus damage after a poison occurs nearby you, so it actually has a genuine use as well. As for getting it for yourself, from the first site of grace of the DLC, simply head north along the main path until you cross the giant bridge. Then you want to hang a right and follow the main path south before branching off right here to find this site of grace slightly to the east. Right beside the grace is an NPC. Talk to the NPC a couple of times and he'll offer to sell you some things, and among his vendor's stock is this weapon waiting for you to buy it. Fourth up then is the anvil hammer. This is an extremely cool looking colossal weapon, mainly scaling with strength as you upgrade it, but a bit of faith scaling on the fire damage it has as well. It requires a whole whack of stats to actually be able to use to begin with, but it is genuinely quite powerful as a trade-off for that. Visually it is a gorgeous weapon. It has a pretty standard colossal weapon moveset, but a unique weapon Ash of War, which is smithing art spears. This slams the weapon down on the ground, and when you lift it up, a circle of spears comes out of the ground, dealing damage in a circle around you. Honestly, it just looks sick as all hell. To get this one for yourself then, starting from the first site of grace, head north along the main path and cross the giant bridge. Then you want to take a right and head off-road and up this cliff on the western side, all the way to the edge where you'll find this site of grace at the entrance of the ruined forge. Once inside then, head forwards and jump down the ladder around the corner, take a right turn and follow the path into the following chamber, then jump off to the right and climb the rubble immediately that is in front of you, follow this little path along it to the edge and jump onto the ledge that is on the wall, take a right turn here and drop down the ladder to reach the lever that finishes the puzzle of the dungeon itself. This will lower a giant pipe down into the lava. Simply jump on top of the pipe and then run up to the top of it. Then you want to jump off to the right to find a balcony with a small room attached to it with a forge altar. Interact with the altar, and this weapon will be yours, as well as an ancient dragon smithing stone for the trouble too. Fifth today is Pata, a particularly special pair of fist weapons that scale equally with strength and dexterity as a base, as it's a quality weapon, but can have an affinity assigned to them as well at a site of grace. And what makes this interesting is that they are essentially swords coming out of your fists and act as piercing fist weapons, as well as just having significantly longer range than most fist weapons in the game, because weapons in this game accurately extend their hitbox based on the physical shape of the weapon, and these are literally just swords coming out of your fists. As far as how to actually get these then, this is one of the longer paths today, but requires no actual killing. Starting from the first site of grace of the DLC, you want to head north along the main path until you reach the first of Miquella's crosses here. Take a left off of the normal path and then head under the large archway in the cliffside, and if you take a left immediately afterwards and stick against the cliff, you will find a path that slowly ascends upwards like this. You want to follow it the whole way through, which will bring you to this next site of grace, and from here you simply want to head south along the cliff line while holding to the western side of it so that you can find this tunnel right here that takes you around to a church. Once you get behind the church itself, you'll find not only this weapon, but an entire armor set as well laying on a corpse on a ledge. Sixth up then, we have the Horned Warrior's Sword. This is a quality weapon with equal strength and dexterity scaling. You may recognize this sword as there are enemies that use these, and this is a paired curved sword, meaning if you two-hand it, you will get two of them automatically. They have the normal double curved sword moveset, they look visually incredible, and they have a unique Ash of War as they are a somber version too, which is Horn Calling. This shoves your weapon into the floor and uses that to summon horns up from underground to attack your target for a pop of damage and stagger from range. In order to actually get this one then, we're going to get a little bit more complex with the routing, as this and our next weapon are both found in a secret path in the first legacy dungeon, Ballarat Tower. That said, there are no bosses required for this path before this point where you can get these weapons, so they are relatively easy to actually acquire. For this, we are going to start from the small private altar site of grace at the midway point of this area, and there's a bit of a walk here, so I'll just let you enjoy some nice smooth jazz while we travel. And in this location you will find the Well Depths Key. I already have it, so mine isn't on the floor, but this is where it is. From this point, head back to the Ballarat Tower Settlement site of grace near the front of the actual dungeon, and follow the regular path forward from here. You want to take a right and then follow this path like so, where you can find yourself at a well on the left. Climb down the ladder into the well, don't jump in or you'll just die, and at the bottom of the well is a locked gate that is opened with the key that we just collected. From here we have another bit of a walk, so continue to enjoy your jazz along the way, you little rascal. Eventually you'll reach the backside of this poison swamp where the horned warrior enemy is going to be hanging out, and if you kill this specific one of him, he will drop his weapon for you to pick up nice and easy. Seventh then is the Poisoned Hand fist weapon. Arcane scaling mostly as a fist weapon and deadly poison buildup on it, and this weapon has a unique special effect that gives you increased damage after a poisoning happens nearby you, which is special to have on an actual weapon honestly, as that's basically just bonus damage for the weapon that you're using, and that is also having a unique Ash of War on it in Poison Spearhand Strike. strike, a forward lunging chop that also applies deadly poison pretty much instantly if it connects properly. As far as how to get this one for yourself, it is literally 5 feet away from the last entry on the list, so if you didn't watch that one, go back and follow the path for that. And then beside the building directly north of the horned warrior enemy that is there will be a corpse with this weapon sitting on it right there. Finally then today, let's talk about the Death Knight's Twin Axes. This is a paired axe combo, scaling with strength, dexterity, and faith, but mainly with strength and faith at higher upgrade levels. The actual moveset is relatively standard for double axes, but it does have a unique Ash of War called Blink Bolt Twin Axe. This is a little teleport forward maneuver that can just be followed up by a strong attack to do a forward spinning attack. Essentially, this just gives you a ton of gap closing ability and mobility as well to add on to your moveset that also does a good chunk of lightning damage when you use them. Though these are obviously unupgraded in the footage here, so don't judge the damage numbers by that. As far as how to get these then, from the first site of grace of the DLC, head north along the main path until you reach the end of the giant bridge and the castle front side of grace. From this side of grace, simply follow the area northwest of it, then through this little valley under some soldiers and fortifications, and head the whole way through this sort of graveyard and forest until its endpoint, which is the Fog Rift Catacombs dungeon. Enter this, and the path inside is another pretty long one, so you know the drill at this point. Hit it, boys! And through this fog wall right in front of you here at the end of the path is of course going to be a boss. When you kill the boss, they will drop you this weapon and also a talisman for your troubles as well. That just about does it then for today, everyone. 8 cool weapons that you can collect all within the first general region of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. For those wondering about staffs and seals, by the way, there are simply none quite this early, but those will come later, I promise. I hope you've all enjoyed this collection then, and hopefully you found a new weapon that's caught your eye and taken your interest. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.